All right. We're ready for chapter 8. I think we're ahead of the game here, so that's good, because we'll have more time to do more stuff. If we're not ahead of the game, I'm in the wrong class. I don't know. You guys are, this is talking about, like we're talking about real life, doing role play this morning. May not seem real to you, but it's as real as you make it. So put yourself in the position of a client, in the role of a client. You're just role playing. That's the good thing about it. And when you go to do your practicums and you're working with people, you're still a student. So don't be afraid that you're going to make mistakes, because you are. And believe me, these people that are in these situations, there's very little you can do to hurt them. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to add to their pain, or you at least want to remain neutral. But they've already been through so much stuff that's been hurtful, most of them, that they're probably not even going to notice when you don't maybe say the wrong thing. And when you say the wrong thing, that's an excellent time to say, wow, I can't believe I just said that. I'm so sorry. I must have had, you can come up with ways to recover. And they see that you're a human being, right? They see that you're I got up and I did a Celebrate Recovery program in Lawrence, Kansas at our church. My wife and I should say. She was a big part of it. She and I did it together. But I got up at the end and did my testimony, because every other week somebody does their story. And I gave my story, and people came up to me afterwards and said, wow, you're just like us. See, they look at us as some special people that have all this special training. Well, you know as well as I do, whether you paid attention every minute of every class you've ever been in. We missed out on a lot of stuff that we should have learned, right? But you're going to learn it. You're just going to learn it through experience. And people need to know that you're also human. I think that makes the relationship real. So, right from the beginning, I like this, doing this exercise this morning before we start through this chapter, because right from the beginning, we're going to help clients turn talk into life-enhancing action. Sounds easy, but it's not, right? So we have the action arrow. We're going toward, our goal is right there. We're looking at our goal. We want them to be able to take action in their life. Or not. Not taking action is another action, right? So when you don't make a choice, you have two choices, you don't make a choice, that's another choice. And that means you stay where you're at, or you find another choice to choose from. So highlight the difference between, in this chapter, it highlights the difference between talking about problems and doing something about them. Self-determination and self-control are essential for action. There's decisional self-control. A single choice ends a conflict. Like it says, for example, you leave your abusive spouse. The client leaves her abusive spouse, decides to go into the shelter. That ends a conflict right there. Or a teenager decides that they're going to go to school instead of staying home because they're anxious. Then there's protracted self-control is going to continue resistance. So if I decide I'm going to stop using drugs, right? Today is the day. I'm going to stop today, one day at a time, 24 hours at a time, 1 hour at a time. But that means I'd still have to maintain it every hour, every day, every hour. But I don't have to do it 1 hour at a time. So I learn about resistance, how to do it on one very short period of time, especially with an addiction. Most clients need both kinds of self-control. So we need to have maintenance. You make a decision, and you need to maintain your decision. Tactics for strategy. Methods for adapting a plan to the immediate situation, including being able to change the plan on the spot. So one of the things we do is we help people develop backup plans. I always have a backup plan. I know when I come in here, if the camera doesn't work, I could record it. I've got a little recorder, but I wouldn't worry about it. I would just maybe go in and record it later for the people that aren't here. Or if that PowerPoint doesn't work, I can flip out my book and open up my book and go through the chapter page by page. I've done it before. So there's no panic. Whereas if you came in to do a project, presentation, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, and the electronics didn't work. Always, it's like you can count on it. Always have a backup plan. Have a handout that you can go through and hand out to everybody. And then they've got their own PowerPoint with the handout. And so you always, and sometimes that's good to have anyway, right? So we have a backup plan. We help our clients have backup plans. How do we tell, the client has a plan now, so we say, what happens if your friends drop by with a bag of cocaine? That would be my worst nightmare when I started doing drugs, or quit doing drugs, is that somebody come by with a big bag of white powder. Or one time I was moving out of my house, and this was like, I'd say 6 months into recovery. I was doing really good. And I was cleaning out a cabinet in the kitchen, and I was having this memory, I think I was even having this memory of this crazy woman, she was crazed on dope, standing on my kitchen cabinet in the kitchen when I walked in there, just being crazy, I don't know. And when I reached up in the back of this cabinet, where she was kind of, I don't know if she was standing right at that cabinet. That was my memory. I pulled out this bag of white stuff. And I'm 6 months sober, and I'm looking at this bag of white stuff. And I'm going, oh my God. And what I didn't intend to do it. I wasn't going to use it. But just, I had to make sure. And I opened the bag and sniffed it. And think about that. That's not maintenance. That I should have just thrown it away. But it ended up being flour. That was God's test for me, right? It was like, look how easily you drop right back into your old habits. Because sniffing the bag, actually tasting it would have been the first thing I'd do if I was still using drugs. But we think, well, what happens when you find a bag of drugs in your cabinet? What happens when you run across somebody or something that reminds you? What are you going to do then? So you come up with plans, backup plans. And we provide resources. So one of the things you could do is call your sponsor before you do anything. Always have that. That's the first thing you do is call your sponsor. Don't be afraid. And you haven't practiced calling the sponsor, because I was really bad about that. I didn't want to ask anybody for help. Right? I could do it all myself. So once you develop a plan, how do you move into action? What kind of a self-starter? So these are all questions you can ask. We ask our clients to think about. We can ask ourselves to think about. So I include, like, one thing you can do by putting yourself in a client's place is think of a problem you have and apply all these questions to it. You know, if I was going to change maybe my habit is I intend to study at night and I don't. I'd start talking to my friends instead. Or I intend to get everything done this week so I can have my weekend to myself, and it just always seems to roll over, and I don't have the energy. I don't want to do it tonight, blah, 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 blah. You know, all those things we tell ourselves. Because I wasn't very long. I was a crazy 66-year-old student. Something was wrong with me anyway, but, you know, to do that to myself. But what do I do when I feel like giving up? I'm actually going to apply this because I'm thinking about writing a book or some kind of maybe a paper about my research, and see if I can get it submitted to into a peer-reviewed journal. And I'm really dragging my feet because I don't want to do it. It's hard to do. I've got all this other stuff I want to do. I'm planting plants like crazy. Just all kinds of other things are getting in the way of it. And I need to develop a plan for how I'm going to be disciplined enough to do that. Help figure out what people's intentions are. My intention is to stop using drugs. And then you implement those intentions. Find it. That's really just making a plan. And look at what's holding me back. Like I just told you, I got procrastination like big time. And And then along with that, I'm thinking about, I'm 66 years old, I just got my PhD. Why? If I'm not going to write, if I'm not going to use it, what a waste of, it feels kind of like a waste. I know it's still meaningful. The fact that I got it, that's pretty darn meaningful, especially in the face of the obstacles that I face with my health situation and my accident. I had an accident right in the middle of it, injured my neck. I couldn't even walk, much less type. And so I had to learn to do that again. And now I got a dragon system because this hand doesn't type very well. And my hands are numb quite often. And also used to have more pain than I do now. It's less pain now, more numbness. And I'll drag my hand across the mouse pad on the computer, and that's up where I'm at all the time. So I use this Dragon voice to text system. That's how I finished I basically said my dissertation writing out and then go back and fix it. Because the Dragon isn't perfect, it'll hear you slur words and change it, make a different word out of it. We want the clients to be rewarded, reward themselves, and have contracts with themselves. So have a contract before next week to do this and this and this. And find social support. Find out who are the positive people in their social capital circle and help them to connect with them about what they're doing. So it's called, in on-site, we call it accountability partner. So they find, and do it in Celebrate Recovery too, call it a sponsor or accountability partner. Somebody that I tell, by next week, I'm going to do this and this. And then that accountability partner can call you a couple of days later and say, how you doing? They know you're working on this. You have people that find out and you get support from them for that. And help clients find people willing to challenge them. Not just people that'll go, okay, that's really a great idea. I'm really happy for you. But say, this is going to be a real challenge for me. Will you help me, keep me on track? Don't hold back. A lot of times when I met with my it was client before last actually, we always do guidelines in the first day. The first 2 hours is basically guidelines. Why do it take 2 hours to do guidelines? Because they need to know, I need to know, and they need to know what they need to complete their goals that they came. All of them come with goals because they had to write out a paper before they came. So they have a set of goals. So I always say, what do you need in order to feel the strength and safety and incentives to achieve your goal this week? What do you need from me? What do we need in our relationship? How are we going to define our relationship? And then after we get done with this, we talk about how this can be applied to any relationship that's going to be successful. If you want to have a successful relationship with a husband, a future husband, future wife, a future employer, you need to think about, this is what I need. When the employer during the interview says something like, well, what do you expect from us? Well, you can come up with a list. It doesn't have to be confidentiality. You can change it to respect. I want to respect you, and I want to feel respected as an employee. So all those guidelines are very therapeutic just to go over. You can spend a whole 2 or 3 hours on guidelines and goals. And we apply that to the goals. So you have this goal. I want to, and that's what I was going to say is, I had my client I said, what do you need from me? He said, I need you to challenge me. Because I know I can just fake it, get through it, but I need you to challenge me. And he asked me directly to challenge him. So that was really good. That's a good sign when my client says that. I had a pastor who fell from grace. Not this last time, but another time before this. And this pastor was devastated. He started flirting with somebody at work, his relationship with his wife hasn't been good for a while, and he fell from he didn't go as far as he could have gone, thank God, but he would have thought he murdered somebody. That's how bad he felt, because he was a really control freak. See, he's always been, and he's really successful. And this is what we see a lot of times with successful people, is that they put so much pressure on themselves that they don't learn to take care of themselves. And a lot of times it goes back to childhood, where someone told them that they had to do something in order to be somebody. In order to get my love for you, it's conditional love. To get my love for you, you have to achieve. Instead of, you are good, I love you just the way you are. My dad blew me away one time when I was a kid. He was sort of messing with me, and they said they were talking about how what they wanted for me in life. You know, they wanted me to be successful and blah blah blah. I said, well, and my dad said, well, we want you to be whatever you want to be. And I looked at my dad. I was kind of smart. Like I said, well, what if I want to be a bum? And my dad laughed, because he knew I was messing with him. And he said, well, I guess you're going to be a good bum. So my dad was he played that off pretty good. But you should have that kind of love in your life. Now, he probably didn't mean that completely, but you know, I knew I was loved, even if he didn't say I love you. But I knew I was loved. I could have heard it more often, but still I knew that no matter what I did, I was going to be a part of their family. And believe me, I tested that. I tested it out to the end. My parents should have dumped me anyway, for what I put them through. So we need feedback. That's what confirmatory feedback just means, confirming what you're hearing. That's probably more than, and then they need corrective feedback. So we say to them, this is what I'm hearing, is that right? Or did you mean that? Did you realize a while ago you said this and this and this? Is that what you really mean? Or have you thought about the consequences of that? Sometimes it's you helping them to correct something that they're thinking, or clarifying. We don't try to fix what they say, although we all try to do this on it. You have to kind of check yourself at the door about this. You know, you always check yourself. Am I being manipulated? I know I want them to not do drugs, but can I help them just think through it without imposing my belief system on them? Because the reality is they can do drugs. They don't have to quit. Even if a judge says they have to quit, they don't have to. A lot of people choose not to. A lot of people don't know they have a choice. They don't think they can not do drugs. They've lost that power of choice in their life. And then we can have them make a checklist. We can use checklists as a way of initiating directional action. So what do we need to do to take action on this? What things? And a lot of times what I'll do with them, I'll say, what have you thought of? They'll say, well, I don't know what to do. I say, what have you tried? So I want to hear what they've actually tried and why it didn't work. Sometimes it's obvious why it didn't work. Because we don't want them to try the same thing over and over again and expect different results, but they might be able to try something in a different way, or have support when maybe it was a good thing they tried, but they didn't have support. And then we identify, if you've been through building bridges, this is exactly what we do. They have to identify possible obstacles. What are the obstacles, not even possible obstacles, what are the obstacles to getting out of poverty? What's holding you back? Why haven't you been successful? You've tried this and this and this. What's kept you back? What's blocked your way? Sometimes it's internal stuff, it's themselves. Most of the time. Well, all the time it's ourselves, but we choose to let somebody or something block us. Maybe if I get out of poverty, if I went to college, my mom and dad my family would make fun of me. Oh, you think you're all that going to college? or they would do it subtly. Well, yeah, I guess you can. Go ahead. They don't really help you. They don't know how to help you. That would be another thing. My family doesn't know how to get me to go to college, so I have to go find somebody, and it feels like I'm being a traitor, right? Because I'm leaving them behind. So inertia just means not moving, being stuck, not having the power to move. So if I was depressed, one of the things about depression is you lose your power. You don't want to do anything, right? You sit. I don't know if you guys anybody here is, I've been depressed, am depressed sometimes. I would think I was born with a general, gosh, I always blank on this name. It must be a psychological thing. But it's the low-grade depression. Dysthymia. So some people, it seems to be sort of a personality style or trait because it doesn't respond usually to antidepressants. But some people, you go along in life and there's a norm, like, the norm. So say this is normal moods, and maybe everybody goes up and down. During the day, I'm going to feel good. And then some people are really, anybody like this? Some people are way above here. Some people are up here. They're happy. They seem to be happy all the time. I don't know how they do it, because I'm not up there. I'm down here. And it's not depression, because depression's down here, where you don't feel, you can't even function. I can function. It's just that it's kind of, I don't know, sometimes it's hard. I have to work at having joy in life. I've found ways to do it. But the other side of it is that some people, so that leaves me kind of, I tend to be passive. You can have learned helplessness. I can talk bad to myself, like I'll say, I don't know if I can make this. You get into vicious circles where you can't get out of it, like anxiety disorders. It's a circle, right? You feel anxious. Something happens, you feel anxious. You think it's going to happen again. You start feeling anxious down here, you start feeling anxious down here, you feel anxious, it didn't happen again. But it might happen again, and so you get trapped into this circle of anxiety. And you get disorganized. So, entropy is the tendency of the things to fall apart. Like, over time, your body is, right now, you're probably renewing your body at a really fast rate. So it's actually growing. You're still growing. Your prefrontal cortex, all of you, are still developing. You're not done. You're still in the oven. Smiling. You're still cooking. Okay? That's not true. There's a part of me that's still growing, but there's also a part of me that's fallen off faster than I'm growing. Okay? And I'm getting what you call old. Right? And I start, so you're also getting old, but you're growing faster than you're getting old. And I'm getting old, I'm also growing, but I'm getting older faster than I'm growing. So I'm headed toward the end. I'm on the last, what did Paul say? He's run the good race. I hope I have. I've lived through a lot of it. But sometimes we get false hopes, like, oh yeah, I think I can start an empire now. That might be a false hope, it might not be. Discretionary change. Discretionary change is, let's see what we could change and what we don't want to, why should we try to change? There's certain things, what do I want to do that's, I can't really, I've been taking vitamins for 30 years. And I believe in vitamins. I believe in certain vitamins are essential. And I also take a supplement with my smoothie in the morning, with vegetable supplement, because I know I don't eat vegetables. I don't like them. I'm growing them, but I don't like them. I'm learning to like them. I'm having to learn to, they don't taste good to me, most of them. It depends how they're made, but I may not be able to change everything. I can't change the fact that I don't really enjoy them, but I can also find ways to enjoy it as much as I can. So I can be discreet. I can decide this, I'm going to change this without trying to change that. And the decay curve, to recognize that usually when we're real excited about something, we're up here, we're real excited. Oh man, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And the next day, it's still going to be great. And then something happens the next day, and it's not so great. Well, I'm going to get back up here. And then they get on and get down here. And then they come running. And then pretty soon, it's hard to do. It's tough. You're worn out, right? You can hold it for a while. And we go to church every week. That's why we go to church. Because life wears you down.
So what if you just go up and down like this?
It's called bipolar. No. You can do that. That's true. I mean, there's different styles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us can maintain that excitement. Some are really good at it. Some of us aren't, like me. I have to really work at it. And one of the reasons the Bible says don't forsake hanging out together is that we need to go somewhere where they're praising God. So we go to chapel, we go to church. It increases our, it reminds us that there is a God, right? And that even in our lowest times, He's always there for us, right? So it's a reminder. It keeps us excited. It's why we go to sponsors in AA. It's why we go to AA meetings, because we get, like I'll sit in an AA meeting, hear the worst story in the world, and feel encouraged. Because that person sitting in that AA meeting telling the worst story in the world, instead of hitting up on a pipe of crack or shooting up meth like my friends did in Pratt, Kansas, or snorting a line of coke like my friends and I did for several years, and drinking alcohol to the point of excess. You can't even believe how much you can drink if you're high on coke or meth, because it kind of stops you from feeling the effects. So it doesn't make, you can drink and never pass out. Well, never is a long time. In 3 days you pass out. You find yourself face down in a plate of food you were trying to eat because you know you're going to die if you don't eat. So probably too much information. So we want people to not jump in too fast. I can be really, I'm going to stop. Oh, today is the day. This is my first day of sobriety. I've got 8 hours of sobriety, and we do celebrate that. 24 hours. If you go to Celebrate Recovery, you get a 24-hour chip, right? Because you've gone 24 hours. It's a big deal from one of your hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And we celebrate that, but we also recognize that there's a 30-day trip. Chip. It's a 30-day trip, too. But a 30-day chip that they're going to earn if they make it for 30 days. And we don't want them to say, I made it, I got my 24-hour chip, I'm in recovery. Well, that's okay, they are in recovery, but it's not the end. It's every day, right? You have to go every day with it. All right. So we don't want them also to take imprudent action. So, now that I've got a 24-hour chip, I'm going to go get all my friends sober. I'm going to go tell them about sobriety. And guess what their friends are, who their friends are. They're people that are hitting up the crack pipe, shooting up the meth, smoking the crack, snorting the coke, drinking the alcohol. And if they walk back into that situation now, they're setting themselves up. That's an imprudent action. Don't go down the street that you'd normally go down the street to use drugs. Don't avoid the bar. If they're having a school reunion, 25-year reunion, 5-year reunion, and they're going to do it at a bar, and you've only got about a week of sobriety, don't go. And even if you've got 10 years of sobriety, go with a friend. Go with somebody that you know if you were tempted, they would help you, and you would help them. Usually, if it's a reciprocal thing, like both of you are in recovery, that's a good idea. I've gone to my reunion one time. They did that, and I said, I just told my wife I told my wife that when they start getting stupid, I'm leaving, because you know when people get stupid on alcohol, and they start acting dumb and slurring their words, I knew I wasn't going to enjoy them anymore, and they weren't going to enjoy me either, because I could be a real one of those crusaders for sobriety. All right, try to bring your workbooks. Remember your workbooks? Try to bring your workbooks next Wednesday, and I'll check you off for 8 weeks. 8 weeks are done. Finish them up. I know you all kept up with them. See you later. Love you. Bye.
I was actually just about to ask when the next time we were going to check those was.
Oh, good, Brian. I'm glad, Brian.
I just did the last one.
Are you catching up? You all caught up? Good. See you later.
Bye.
And see you later, too. I hope you enjoyed this video, because it's my video. And I like you, and I like to take my mask off, because I can take my mask off if I'm taking a video. But I still act silly, so I'm going to shut you off now.